Hey, this is Karen, Coach's Corner Chats, and joining me is Natascia Bernardi. Coach Nat, where are you at and what are you up to?
Hi, Kieran. Thanks for having me on the pod. I'm in sunny London for a difference today. Season is finished for my under 10s. I'm actually coaching under 10s for Actonians, which is a grassroots club dedicated just to girls here in the UK, London based. And we finished the season with a boom. We won the Denham United tournament on the 4th of June. So that is my very first cup and the very first tournament won for the girls. So excited and a good way to end up a very difficult season, I would say, because the girls have struggled this year.
What was it that drew you to that grassroots opportunity?
So as a coach, I had an opportunity to coach soccer, as you call it, in the US, in a college environment. And here in the UK, college is like a secondary school, so 16, 18 years old girls. And I've been thrown into the mud. It's like, oh, there is an opportunity here. You have a badge, so off you go. So I didn't feel I was skilled enough to do it, and but my manager at the time, she was very convincing, probably because she needed a coach, and with the support of the other people on my team, I was working for the sports academy at the time. I had the first bite of being a coach of a women's team, and I had a lot of fun. So when I moved on with my role, I looked for an opportunity where I was living, and somebody introduced me here at Actonians, which has a history in the borough where I live in London, this part of London. And what attracted me to the club is that it's a very safe environment for girls, and they have all the pathway from what is called here in the UK Wildcats, so recreational for 5 to 11 years old girls, up until the first team, which is tier 4. So at the time, I didn't know. I just want to keep coaching, and they offered me to look after the Wildcats girls, which I found challenging because I never coached such a young age. But in the sometimes you need a good challenge and see how it goes. So I'm always a little bit humble. So I prefer to say, well, let's see how it goes. And then if we like each other, let's move on. And that was November 2019. And I've been there since, moved on from Wildcats. I coached Wildcats for 2 years with the pandemic in the middle. So I was doing some session even online because I love coaching. And then I moved to the under 9 last year, and which I'm under 10 this year. So a journey that is in progression. And I would say also my journey as a coach has been in progression, because it was a hobby at the start is now becoming more and more a passion and something that I want to pursue. So I completed my way for C this year. Which is a kind of a little bit higher level than the first level of coaching here in the UK. And I'm on my journey to try to get into the UEFA B, just to complete and being able to, not for me as a coach, but even for me as a coach, but also because when you coach, you want to develop your players as much as possible, stretch them as much as possible. And sometimes I felt that my knowledge was not up to speed to what I would have loved to deliver to them. So hence my journey towards the WebC, which has changed completely my way of coaching. And right now, my journey to get more courses to implement what I learn and put into practice what I learn.
You mentioned a little bit of a struggle this year with the girls, even though it ended up really, really well. What were some of the things that you all faced during the season?
I think first of all, we moved. So when we played under 9s, we had 5-a-side. So the format is 5v5. And then this year was 7v7. And so it was kind of introducing a little bit more positional based. And I think we struggled a little bit with that. And at the start, probably we weren't so physical as other teams were. And I think, and that's where actually going through my WFC helped me in changing that, and kind of challenge my players, or make the design my practice a little bit more in a way that I was able to implement the physicality of my players. So a lot of 1v1, 2v2 situation that they face during the game. And I think that they had to adapt to that. They had to adapt to work as a team, and possibly sometimes, when you are volunteering in grassroots, you don't always have the same players available all the time, and and all the players need to play a fair amount of game time. So I try to be fair and to make everyone playing. And sometimes, I had some goalkeepers not showing up, the ones that are more keen on being in goalie. And that makes a lot of difference, especially with some teams. And I have to say, fairness to the opponents. A lot of the opponents in our league were very strong, but we got some incredible results. So we had a team called Finchley, which actually we are gonna have a friendly soon, and they don't mind me saying that. But we got 6-3 defeat, and then the week after we faced them, but we had the stronger team at the time than them, and we won 8-0. So sometimes it's just the grassroots way, which anyways, at our age, we don't have really a table, and possibly results don't count. But when I say we struggle as a team, means that the moral gets down when we lose one after another. So it's hard sometimes to keep the moral up, even though the girls all the time have a good time. And I have all the pictures that I have when we leave the pitch is they are all smiling faces and all happy. But sometimes it would have been good to have a little bit of more winning than just the 2 in the whole year. But I think it was interesting when we went to the tournament, and the tournament, it was 11 games, 10 minutes each under the heat. And they really show commitment, and they were happy at the end. It's like, what do you think about this? It's like, oh, we never achieved something so big in our life. It's the best day of our life. And I think it was more for the passion that they put in the game than the victory per se. But it was a great end, even though during the year we struggled. So it paid off a little bit of the work done.
So you mentioned that you're in London, but I hear like a different accent kind of sneaking in. Where did you grow up, and was that where you kind of got the first experience with a great game of soccer?
Yes, as you can guess from my accent, I'm not a Briton. No, I'm originally from Italy. That's where I grew up until I was 35. Then I moved abroad. I lived in Sweden a couple of years. And then 10 years ago, I moved in the UK, following my passion for sport and finding a job in sport. I fell in love with football due to Italia 90. So back in the World Cup of Italy 90s, that's when I got hit by the soccer fever, I should say. And I've been everything with football. With soccer, I was a supporter at the start. That's how I got, and I knew everything, every stats at the time of Italy, every information of the Italian team. Then I got really passionate about the way Sacchi and the AC Milan was playing. So I went even to see them in San Siro. Then my hometown team, which is Bologna, got to Serie A. So I started to be a fan and hit the stadium there. Then I was a ref for 12 years back in Italy of soccer and futsal. And I tried to play, I would say, in the 90s for what was considered tier 4 at the time, but it was it was the lowest tier that it was possible to play for women. And the game was very not even close to what is the women game here. And at the time there were two, and we, in the 90s, no internet, nothing, but there were two players that will always remember: Mia Hamm from the US and Carolina Moracci, of course, from Italy. Those are the players that they were kind of my icons at the time. So that's where my passion of football started. And when I came to London, I had the opportunity to get a badge as a football coach, because at the time I was working for football, a charity linked to a football team. And I wasn't really convinced that coaching was my thing, but I got thrown into that, and here I am now.
When you talk about all of your Bologna and all the what is soccer like in Italy? What's that passion like that people maybe here in the States don't understand?
So I can resume at the time. There is one thing. There was one slogan of Coca-Cola that in Italy was like drink, no, eat soccer, breathe soccer, drink Coca-Cola, and and that has been the life motive of a lot of us that were born up in the 70s or in the 80s. And I think that's what it is. My country is like, you can see my home country, you can see football or soccer everywhere, and everything rotates around it. There is you cannot escape to it, even if you hate it. And I don't know who does, but there are people that might do. Then you cannot avoid it, because it's in the news, it's in the radio, it's like you're surrounded, you're so into that, and everyone has an opinion. Even my granny has an opinion about soccer. It's like if I talk to my granny, she will have an opinion about my hometown team, even though she has never watched a game in her life, because it's so into the culture that it's unbelievable what it is there. It's not, and unfortunately, it's more. I would say it's more focused on guys and men's than on the women's side. The women's side is a little bit behind in terms of European development of women's soccer situation, but nevertheless, yes, there is this, and everyone is attached firstly to their hometown or to some teams of Serie A for some sort. And you never, so for example, I confessed that I was a AC Milan supporter, and then I switched to my hometown. That is something that I shouldn't be proud of. And my friend is like, you cannot have two jerseys. You always have just one until you die. And but I had to, because when you attend a live game, and it's so accessible in a way, attending live games, then you get passionate about your team, you get passionate about the fandom that surrounds your team, and you get a grasp of the history. People starts telling you what was at the time when your team was great. So, and you see the struggle. So yeah, and I think also soccer is really representative of how Italians are, very passionate, dramatic at times, and in a way, always full of hope, even when it's a mission impossible to change the results. So it's a little bit I found it a little bit in line with how Italians are. So.
You mentioned also refereeing. What was that experience like of refereeing, like being on the other side in the mix?
So referee in Italy, I kind of shape myself a lot, because so I started refereeing late in the years. I was in my 20s. And I will be honest, I got the badge because because in Italy, if you're a ref, you can go free to the stadium. And as a university student, I was quite skint, so I was like, oh, let's get the badge of the ref, so I could get into the stadium for free, attend the matches that I want. And it was an experience, because it shapes you a lot and it shapes you a lot in terms of discipline. You need to be, there were a lot of strict rules for us as a ref. So you need to be at the venue 1 hour and a half prior to the game. And there are a lot of things that is more like a military thing. That you need to check this, you need to do that. And I have to say, there are not many women doing ref. So the Italian Federation opened up to women in 1994, which is not long ago. Saying so, I arrived until regional ref. So I was traveling all the region to ref, mainly futsal more than football. And we were 64 regional referees and just 2 women within the 64 at the time. So yes, so that was a challenge. And I was refereeing mainly men. Sometimes women, which I found it easier to ref women because they are more appreciative that the fact that you're a woman there refereeing them. They think that you pay more attention to them than the main counterpart of us. But men were like, sometimes they were behaving like small children, like, oh, they're pulling my shirt. So you need to show yourself professionalism. You need to show yourself that you don't take things personally, that you're there to do your job as a ref. And it doesn't matter what is your gender, but you're a ref. So I think after probably the first 2 or 3 games of the season that they do understand, or after, and sometimes when they don't know you, because sometimes the teams don't necessarily know you, then you have they start you, they challenge you like kids basically, and then when they understand that actually you're serious, you're really there just to do your job, but there is nothing else that you care, then they get more serious as well. So it's a good, I think I would suggest to do a little bit of ref to get a little bit of the nit and grit of the rules as well, and but also for a matter of confidence, because if you are, in a way, I felt at the time I felt protected by my jersey, by my knowledge of the rules. So whatever was happening around, I wasn't fearful, and I was confident because I know the rules. I know I'm wearing a jersey, so I'm here to apply and to make your job as players easier and to make the game easier. So it's not for me. I'm actually working for you guys to make this game enjoyable and safe for you, and a good game for the fans. So if you go with this mentality as a ref, and that you develop this with time, then it's a win-win. And also, sometimes I got things wrong as a ref, as players get things wrong as a players. And I think being able also to explain that at the start, like, I'll do my best, like my speech at the start was after checking the documents. I was always like, hi guys, let's have fun. I'm here to do my best, and I'm here to support you in this game, and let's all have a good game and good fun. And I think when they see that you are not there to compete, because I'm not competing with anyone, I think they kind of appreciate that you're a human being and you're trying to do your best. And when they protest, I remind them what I did. It's like, hey, I'm doing my best. Really, it's nothing personal. If I didn't see it, I'll pay more attention. So try to have a dialogue with the players, and that also makes you understand that ref might get things wrong, and that's why right now I'm very respectful, even and I teach that even with my players. Sometimes I see mistakes, like, and you're like, and I have the tendency of defense, like, oh come on, how didn't you didn't you see that? But then I step back and like, hold on a second, there, and I try to reinforce that, like, the referees didn't whistle that, so we move on. We need to appreciate the fact that we have a ref that is actually helping us in managing this, because also refereeing, I think, is so under-evaluate role within football, and there is a lot of effort for them, being up to date with knowing the rules, and showing up as well. Because think about a ref showing up to your game and have maybe 4 games, one after another here in the UK. That is a lot of commitment. And they don't gain a lot of money, so it's also a little bit volunteering, but that shows another way of being passionate about the game and thinking that they're trying to to make your game beautiful and safe. So if you think with this mentality, and you don't think that, oh, they prefer this jersey than that jersey, they at this level especially, I would never think about, oh, you are you are really all biased and for this team instead of our team. I think more like, well, you're doing your best. And also at the end, I always have a chat with the ref just to make sure that he's okay. It happened that sometimes, you get parents a little bit heated for the results, even though we are under 10th, that happens. And I just make sure that they are okay. But it's good to see that some most of the ref are always very nice. It's always an enjoyment to come here and ref for your teams, because you guys are always looking after us. And I think that is a way of caring of the game as well. If everyone involved in the game cares about each other, the game is more pleasant, first of all, more enjoyable. And results, yes, matter maybe at times, but we are all there to make the game beautiful.
You talked about earlier that everyone is passionate in Italy, even within their neighborhoods for their teams. And you're talking about, I mentioned your grandma or granny. What was it like when you made the decision to leave Italy? You said you stopped in Sweden for a little bit and then you went to England. What's it like to make that decision of, I'm going to go pursue some of my dreams and it's going to take me away from that family atmosphere?
I think it's I always think about that I'm not a tree. If you see that you are unhappy or you can't be what you want to be, and you have the opportunity, the advantage of moving around, why not trying? So when I started in early ages, I did a trial when I was at university. I did an exchange program with York University in Toronto, Canada. And yes, in the 90s. And that meant even there, no internet, nothing. So I was on the other side of the world with my mom leaving messages on my voicemail. But and I loved it. I loved the experience of living alone, being in a culture that was full of other people culture, because at the time, Italy, I just met Italians at the time. So when I was thrown at 19 years old in an environment, in a university, in a completely different country with completely different culture, a lot of first generation. And I thought, I quite like this way. Then I came back and I struggled so my cultural gap was when I came back. And since then, I was always intrigued to go somewhere, but for a reason or another, a little bit for study, a little bit because I wanted to give myself a little bit more opportunity where I was living. I'm an only child after all. So I was like, oh, let's stay here. Then one of my friends, he moved while I was in Toronto. He moved to Denmark for an exchange, and then he stayed in Denmark. And we had a back and forth conversation about, why don't you try to come to Scandinavia? You might have a lot of opportunity. Soccer is quite strong. Then your background, because my background is in sports psychology, you might get something out of it. And I tried to go back there. He was living in Copenhagen. I tried to go around Copenhagen and southern Sweden. And I said, and I found the culture quite intriguing, for equality, for way of life for women, for freedom, for opportunity to study. So I'm like, okay. And I quite like it here. So I was able to get later on into a master program. Then I went to my mom and I said, guys, next year I need a little bit of your support, because I'm going to move to Sweden and study in a university for 2 years, a master. And that is where my mom was like, this is the last straw. If you don't move to Sweden, and then, because I said, I'll study there and I'll move there for good. And she was like, this is the last straw. You study there. I don't want to hear that you study anymore. Just go there. And then I had, to try to make it clear, like, no, but there are flights. I can be here in 2 hours. So it's not going to harm anyone. It's like moving somewhere else in Italy. But after 2 years in Sweden, I understood that I got my degree. I got a master at Lund University. But after, I would say after a year in Sweden, I understood that unless I was able to learn speaking Swedish at a high level in quite quick time, even though everyone speaks English and honor that, for me, it would have been very hard to find a job within sport, just speaking English. So the other option at the time was, with an European passport, was to look somewhere where I was understanding the language, even though with the accent. And that's where, and there were a lot of opportunities in sports in the UK. I was familiar with the UK because I visited London several times. And I moved and I found a summer job before graduating. So I graduated on the 1st of June 2013, and I moved back home to change clothes and everything. And I moved back and I found a job. I started in the UK on the 30th of June 2013, and then I moved, and then the majority of jobs are in London. So after my summer job, I moved to London. And I've been working in sports since then. And together with that, I've been developing this passion for women football. And I'm very privilege because I've been able to see the growth of women's soccer here in the UK, which has been massive since I moved. And I feel like I've been part of it. So I'm a little bit of a fan of the WSL. I'm a little bit of a fan of the Lionesses because I saw it growing up and I was a little bit part of it in the background. So
one of the things that stands out to you, you've talked about when you refereed, you were one of 2 females in that. Just the opportunity to work right now with like an all girls grassroots type team. You just talked about the Lionesses. You talked about Italy being like the men's program everyone's into, and the women are slowly growing. How important is that for you as a female and an opportunity to make impact on your players? You've stepped out and been a referee. How important has that been for you? And now, just like you said, to start seeing that the women's game continues to start growing and is garnering more and more attention.
I think if you, as it's a kind of a probably abused term, but if you can see it, you can be it. And I think that it's very important having not just a woman refereeing, but different or a coach, but different kind of women involved into the sport with different background. Yes, I have an accent. It's clear that I'm not British, but in London, who doesn't have an accent? Everyone here has an accent, and could be even just from North England, you know. So it's a given that all the players that I have never question my accent. They sometimes ask me where are you from and if I grew up here or not. But that's to say that it's so good to see other women being involved, and there are some women that are different than me, some women that are like me. I'm personally met in one of the courses a girl, and then we were chatting, and and at a certain point it comes out that she's from Milan because and then we're like, why do we keep chatting in English then? So it's the fact that it's kind of a movement per se, but there is a lot of solidarity and a lot of help. We tend to help each other, and I think what the girls see is that, oh, so I can be a coach if I want to. I can be a ref if I want to. And when we see women refereeing, the girls are always helping each other, like, oh, we have a woman today, we have a girl today. And because I think representation matters, and maybe you might not enjoy playing a long time, or maybe you, for any reason, you finish playing, or you want to experiment yourself in something else in the game, maybe farther down the line. So why not? And I saw some mom taking on, I inspired some parents in taking on coaching, because if you're there for your daughter, why don't you just jump in and be an assistant coach for a while, see if you like it, and then you can move on. I also coached the recreational team for Actonians, because it's just very easy to do, because I finish my session and half an hour later I started with the women's. And some of the ladies there, they at the start we were 6 or 7, and now we are 18. And some of them are coming because the group is very positive, but also because I'm there coaching, and they say they see a woman coaching, which sometimes a little bit clumsy here and there, or sometimes I'm not very good in maths. So sometimes I just say the numbers and they just laugh. And it's a recreational environment. And I think they feel relaxed. They don't feel the pressure. And they say, I just come here actually for a kickabout and a laugh. And because I actually learn something at the end. So hearing that in the background, and I always try to get them in doing a course online, because in the UK it's easy. You can get a badge even just online, just to get them involved in another side of the game, because some of them are parents themselves. So I say, why don't you come and try? So it's just a way, I think, to inspire other girls. And the more we are, the better the game gets. Look at where has been in how it developed. And just because it's just, people have they're passionate of the game, or maybe have been in the game, wanted to implement that. So depending where you are in the ladder, you can implement just being there. And there are so many programs in the UK that give you opportunities as a woman to get into the ladder and to get more badges. So, and there are just women tailored courses. So if you, for any reason, if you feel a bit pressured, or if you don't feel like at ease, or for any reason you're schedule doesn't work for you with the male's counterpart, there are dedicated courses for women. So there is one right now that is for referee, just women ref. And I think it's very important to have these experiences for women, even to feel relaxed and being able to say, oh, I have never understood the offside. Can you somebody just throw it? Or even more simple than that, what is a goal kick? Sometimes you need even people that might not know the technical terms, but they maybe are savvy of football, or they have the kids in football, and instead of just being in the car waiting for them to finish, it's like, oh, let me get involved and do some movement and feel happier and give something back to the community.
You mentioned earlier that you did some stuff. I think you said it was charity-based type thing with soccer. What other things beyond like maybe coaching have you been a part of and beyond refereeing that's actually, incorporated, been influenced by soccer?
So so in Italy, I was involved in the anti-racist World Cup. It's a World Cup that all the fans of soccer teams, but even I would say I would widen that to sports, because there was basketball fandom as well. It was a 3 days camping where you have tournaments during the day of all the fans. And in the evening, you have concerts or TV debate, or cinema debates, stuff like that. And I found it very interesting, because during the year you might swear almost to each other, but then in those 3 days you are the best buddy whatsoever, and you change shirts and stuff. So I found it, and I think it's at the time that was back in the days, so back before early 2000. I think it's still there, but I think it reduced. But having the idea that people were coming from different parts, not just of Italy, but even from Germany, we had some Pauline coming in, and just gathering for a free tournament. I think that is great and gives you the idea how strong is soccer for everyone, and how the passion is. Actually, we have all a passion together. And even though none of us were at the time understanding each other, there was people speaking broken English, people not speaking English, just drinking or playing. I think that we were all having a passion for a team, and we were all there because of soccer. That was one. I think other things based. So we, as Actonians, we have done some refugee days. So we supported we had a tournament within refugees, and we gave, we took as part of our teams, for example, girls, and we match up with the girl refugee and play football together. And at the end, everyone had a meal. And we collect, and at times we collect jersey or equipment for refugees to be distributed. And there is Shadia, who is our community officer, that actually at times not just collects but goes. She went to Morocco, I think, last year, and gave the equipment to them. And this I currently work for a football club, and a professional football club here in the UK, but not as a coach, as a head of player care. And we are organizing a visit to a charity on this upcoming Saturday with some of the players. And again, there is a charity that is trying to improve provision for people in Ghana in terms of clothes. So we're going to donate some clothes, and the people there are so interested in sharing with us a little bit of Black History Month, Black History footballers that have been part of the of soccer here in the UK. So it's very interesting how soccer is kind of a way to rotate a lot of things. And it could be charity based, it could be not charity based, but there are a lot of things coming out, good things coming out from football.
The one thing that kind of stands out, are you one that has always been willing to try new things and to like almost be a lifelong learner, like going to Toronto and going to Sweden, and now you're in England, and now you're doing charity type things here, and you're coaching and you've refereed. Have you always like, where did that passion for learning come from?
I don't know where it comes from. I think it's more a way of living. We have just one life, and life is so full of opportunities. And I just go with the flow, what I like, and I try. And sometimes, sometimes you just don't like that side of things, so you move on. Or sometimes it's just the stage of life. So I was a player, unfortunately. I'm one of these people. I have to say that I love sports, but sports don't love me back. And I was a player. I wasn't great. I always make the excuse that I started too late. As guys, you always say their knees has a little bit of a problem. For me, it's like I started too late, so I wasn't able to be a great player. But the thing is that I don't think I was skilled enough to be a good player. But I had so much passion for the game that I wanted to try to get as many experience as possible within the game and or rotating around the game. And that's why, and also football or soccer, as I always get confused here, has always rotate, like gave me so many things. It gave me all my friends. I still have friends since the 90s because of the game. It gave me a way of living. I've been out of trouble because I was always out and about playing with a ball. So I think it's kind of it has given me so much. It has been part of my life that if I can embrace anything that rotates into that, and I love people. That's another part of me. I love people. I would never been able to do a job without that doesn't involve people or being just myself for a long period of time. So throwing into environment that I was not familiar with, for me it's just like, wow, that is another life. Let's try it. Probably if I feel myself a little bit like a video game that you can experiment other lives, but actually using myself as a person. And I have to say music and definitely soccer were part of so many conversations, so many um, uh, points where I was able to connect with others independently of my level of English or my level of the language or anything. So yeah, I like to be thrown in the mud and see what happens, basically.
Uh, so here you are, you're rock and rolling, doing the grassroots coaching and what have you, and you're looking to take your UEFA B and continue to learn and grow. What is there a kind of an end goal for Coach Nat? Do you have a level that you'd like to get to? You talked about there's a pathway for the players to go higher. Is there a kind of maybe a ladder that you want to continue to keep going up? Maybe is there a dream kind of spot that you'd like to get to?
I have a dream, and my
Oh,
dream is to work to always work with development, because I think I am good with the young people and you good with the young girls. I do understand them quite a lot. So I would like to work for the new talent center for future lionesses one day. So that is my own dream. I think the game. I think the opportunity, as I said, for us are growing. Recently, I've been lucky enough to become a Kick It Out ambassador. Kick It Out is an organization here in the UK that fights racism within football, not just in the UK but worldwide, quite famous. And through and I do and I think there is a lack of diversity within the game still now. And I think being part of this journey and try to get there to implement the game, and especially to help the young generations to grow and make the game even better than what it is now. That is my dream.
is there any part of you that would ever has like a thought of I'm gonna go back to Italy, I'm gonna coach there, I'm gonna make some impact there?
Yes. I have, but don't say it too loud. That's between me and you. Yes, I would love to. I would love to contribute to the movement back in my home country. I think there are people that are trying to break the ceiling. I think Carolina Murace, that I mentioned before, she's one of the seal breakers in my country. Broke so many things. And I think she's one of the pioneers in terms of women's soccer back there. But I think there is a lot to do, and I hope that my experience here my experience here in the UK, and if I can develop a little bit further, and the ways developing here maybe will allow me to go back strong enough to say, okay, these are the things that we need to do. Or maybe I get an offer by an Italian club, and then I go there and try to change the game from within. Who knows? There are. I don't stop thinking that I can move, even though I feel quite settled here in the UK, and I like where I am because of where the game is, and it's like being in a candy store for a kid. But I think if I can take what I learn and then try to, push a little bit farther somewhere else, that would be magic.
So as you're finishing up this season, what's the rest of your summer look like, and when do you pick back up and start rocking and rolling again?
So currently I'm supporting. So I'm still supporting the recreational team for Actonians up until probably July. Then I'm helping another grassroots team. They are called London Talent Football Centre, and they are in a little bit higher league, so they are in JPL, and that will finish at the end of July. So August will be a little bit of kind of a stopping coaching month. However, the World Cup is coming, so I will be impossible hours awake to watch some of the games, and as I am lucky enough to work in a football club, as I said before, probably I will be able to get some of the football games even where I work, but finger crossed that there is a movement within the club to make it possible. So we'll see if it happens. And the rest, to be fair, there are so many little things happening here and there. Presentation of books related to soccer, and small events related to the World Cup. So we see what happens. We will resume training back in September, so first week of September. So up until there will be definitely a bit of study and preparation for the new season. I saw some tips on Twitter the other day about how to make positional cards for your players. So I'm thinking about, I should do something similar. It's a little bit of digging something to surprise my players when I come back.
Coach Nat, I have absolutely loved this chat. This has been awesome, and I'm going to shut it down. This is Kieran with Coach's Corner Chats with Coach Nat, Natascia, Bernardi, and I'm out. Peace.
Thank you so much for having me.